All right, Richard, we have another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we like to talk about the top 30 running backs for Week 11. But let's hold ourselves accountable for Week 10 and see how we did.
We had a good week in running back. Boom, boom, boom. We got 20 of 30 correct, and that would include 14 in the top 16 and 11 in the top 12. So an excellent week at running back. I hope we can continue with that.
All right, well, let's get started for the top 30 running backs for Week 11. The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
At number 1, we have Dalvin Cook, home against Dallas. This is a good matchup, and man, Dalvin Cook has been unbelievable. Number 2, Alvin Kamara, home against Atlanta. He's got a great matchup, and he's been very consistent as well. Number 3, Nick Chubb, home against Philadelphia. He came back, didn't lose a beat, dominated in Week 10. We expect more in Week 11. At number 4, Derrick Henry, who will be at Baltimore. Tough matchup, but we know King Henry gets his touches. At number 5, Aaron Jones at Indianapolis. Difficult matchup, but Aaron Jones can explode on any given week, and we're waiting for that, and we think it's going to be this week. At number 6, Josh Jacobs, home against Kansas City. And Ryan, what do you have to say about Josh Jacobs?
Well, Josh Jacobs is picking it up. Currently, he's the 5th running back in standard leagues. He has a total of 849 yards, 8 TDs. He's number 2 in carries with 182. Only trails Derrick Henry. And the Raiders just keep feeding him the ball.
Yeah, you can't argue against that. He's definitely getting the carries. At number 7, we have Miles Sanders at Cleveland. Here's a guy that gets a lot of usage and is explosive. We'll see how he does against the Browns. At number 8, Kareem Hunt, home against Philadelphia. The Browns love to run, and that's because they have Mayfield at quarterback. They want to run, and they have Chubb and they have Hunt. At number 9, DeAndre Swift at Carolina. Swift had a good Week 10. Hopefully they keep unleashing this beast, and he continues to get the touches because he's a stud. At number 10, we have Mike Davis, or Christian McCaffrey, if he happens to play, we'll slot him right in here. But Mike Davis, who has been consistent in McCaffrey's absence. Ryan, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, Detroit isn't very good against the rush. They're ranked 30th. So I think whether it's Mike Davis or McCaffrey, they're going to run all over them.
At number 11, we have James Robinson, home against Pittsburgh. We talked about James Robinson and how good he's been this season, but he's up against one of the top rush defenses in the league. We will see how he does. At number 12, Ezekiel Elliott at Minnesota. Zeke, one of the top backs in the NFL, is losing value because that Dallas offense is out of sync. Can Andy Dalton get him back into the top 10? At number 13, James Conner at Jacksonville. He's had a rough couple of weeks. Is he going to rebound? I mean, this would be the week to rebound against a Jacksonville Jaguars defense. At number 14, Salvon Ahmed at Denver. Here is the Dolphins' new number 1. Ryan, what do you have to say?
Here's a guy that just made Jordan Howard expendable. He's an undrafted player from Washington. He has 85 rushing yards on 21 carries in Week 10. He's the Dolphins' leading back in Week 11 and probably for the rest of the season.
At number 15, Damien Harris at Houston. Here's a good matchup. And Damien Harris is a tough guy. He's a tough runner. You see it when he plays. He's been playing a little hurt. Ryan, what do you have to say about Damien Harris?
Well, Damien Harris should have a good week. He's going against Houston. They're ranked 32nd against the rush. The only problem here is Cam Newton likes to score some touchdowns and run it in himself, so that might hurt him.
At 16, Antonio Gibson, home against Cincinnati. Antonio didn't do that much this week other than score 2 touchdowns. At number 17, Todd Gurley at New Orleans. Here's a guy that scored a lot of touchdowns this season, has seen a lot of carries, but he's starting to slow down. At number 18, we have Kalen Ballage, home against the New York Jets. He looks to be the Chargers' new featured back. I mean, until Eckler returns or Justin Jackson. But for now, he's been solid. At number 19, Ronald Jones, home against the Rams. We don't know what to think about Ronald Jones, but Jones exploded this past week. Ryan?
He's the 3rd running back in the NFL with 730 rushing yards. In Week 10, he had 23 carries for 192 yards, and he can lead fantasy owners to victory with this momentum he's got.
Absolutely. If this is something that continues and he continues to get this many touches every week, he'll absolutely be a top 10, top 5 back. Number 20, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at Las Vegas. Here's a guy that's lost value because he's not getting as many touches. And number 21, Giovani Bernard at Washington. Joe Mixon still appears to be out. And number 22, we have Kenyan Drake at Seattle. We know Kenyan Drake can be explosive. It's just a matter of how many carries is he going to get, and how many times is Kyler Murray going to vulture a touchdown from him. And number 23, we have Nyheim Hines, home against Green Bay. Still don't know who's going to, be featured in that Colts backfield. I mean, they're killing us. But lately it's been Hines. At 24, Duke Johnson, home against New England. He is the guy until David Johnson returns. And number 25, Jonathan Taylor, home against Green Bay. We're so sad about what's happening with Jonathan Taylor. We had such high hopes. And we wish he would give Taylor the ball 30 times, but maybe Taylor's not the guy. At number 26, Darrell Henderson at Tampa Bay. And McVay has a mess as well. Now with Henderson and Cam Akers getting carries, Malcolm Brown. Fantasy owners like to know who the guy is. At number 27, Leonard Fournette, home against the Rams. Fournette catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. We know that offense is explosive, so Fournette will likely get a touchdown as well. So we have both Ronald Jones and Fournette in our top 30. And number 28, Chase Edmonds at Seattle.
This week's fantasy player stock is falling.
Number 1 offense in football, right? The Arizona Cardinals. And Ryan, what do you have to say about Chase?
He's going against Seattle. Their defense isn't really ranked good at all, but surprisingly, we've had this discussion before, their rush defense is ranked number 4.
At number 29, we have Melvin Gordon, home against Miami. There's that question, who is the guy there, right? Gordon, Lindsay, how are the touches going to be split? And at number 30, a guy that paid off from last week, J.D. McKissic, home against Cincinnati. We said it last week, we'll say it again. Those in PPR leagues, pick up McKissic. He catches a lot of passes. So those are your top 30 running backs for week 11.
All right, so we have a lot of things that we have to look forward to. Got a lot of things we'll see about. So thanks for coming on here and sharing your top 30 running backs for week 11.
No problem. Good luck to everyone.